Now, today's event will be a personal look at creating a stress-free Christmas and 2021. Whichever way you spin it, Christmas and the New Year is a pricey time of year, and this is especially relevant considering the impact of COVID-19 on the Australian economy and our mental health. This is exactly why, Victory, are thrilled to be hosting a virtual panel discussion on the topic. 3 experts will guide business owners through how they can achieve their best this Christmas and well into the new year from a mental well-being and a financial perspective. So who's on our panel? Well, Sian Stevens will discuss the concept of change and how to handle it so you have the structure in place to move forward. Sian was the first woman in management board member for the Chartered Management Institute in the UK Wessex region from 2010 to 2013. She has enjoyed volunteer mentoring for Australian Human Resources Institute from 2015 to 2017. She's currently a volunteer mentor with Business in Heels and the Institute of Managers and Leaders Australia, New Zealand. Through her qualifications and skills in coaching, mentoring, training, and facilitation gained over the last 20 years, she brings a wealth of knowledge that she enjoys sharing to ensure everyone has the best opportunities to love and enjoy success in their business. Next, we have Kate Richards, who will discuss the sort of issues families can face at Christmas and how to navigate those. Sher Richards Legal is a boutique family law firm led by Kate Richards, a top family lawyer. After working in large city-based fee-focused firms, Kate saw the need for more personalised legal care, and so Sher Richards Legal was born. They quickly built a reputation as empathetic lawyers offering accessible, practical family law advice. Lastly, we have Sarah Hudson. Sarah will discuss the cost and saving opportunities to put money back in your pocket right. Sarah Hudson has worked in administration, tourism, and semi-government departments, as well as not-for-profit organisations. Her experiences include management, bookkeeping, and employment. Sarah has been a business owner for over 20 years, including the Clean Team project, which enables Sarah to employ approximately 30 staff in a 6-month contract each year, one which she is proud to be associated with, recruiting mainly long-term unemployed and older workers who find it challenging to find alternative employment. Sarah has also developed a program of financial mentoring to assist women to reach their financial potential. Following a customized step-by-step plan to help with debt reduction, savings plans, or simply setting a budget and learning about what financial opportunities exist. So, without further ado, I will hand on over the reins to Sian.
Thanks very much, Kate. Just share my screen with everyone. Thank you so much, Kate, for that introduction. Yes, Sian Stevens from Enhance Group. I ran my own business previously on my own and for about 20 odd years, and now joined Enhance Group to add my skill set to that. My passion is people. I don't refer to them as asset or a resource. I believe them to be the biggest value in any business, because every single one of us comes with a unique set of skills and experience. And if we can enhance that value and bring that into the business, then the business strength grows, and as a consequence, we grow as a business. So I very much believe that the people around you are the backbone of your business. And it's been a difficult year for people. There's no two ways about it. It's been a really, really challenging year. And the reason I put let's be honest is because that's where we need to be right now. We need to be at our most authentic self as leaders. We need to be talking to people about what's been going on for us, to allow time and space for others to be as honest about what's been going on for them. Because there isn't a single person in the globe right now that hasn't been affected by what's gone on in 2020 in some shape or form. In Australia, we had everything. We've had the fires, we've had the floods, and then we've had the pandemic. That's affected every single person in our nation. And we have been affected by externally by what goes on in the globe. We all have family that are outside the country as well, a lot of us. We all have businesses that we work with that are outside the country. Whichever way you look at what's gone on in the last 2020, it's been a very challenging year. So if you're sitting there right now saying, no, I'm fine, quite possible you're not being honest with yourself. And if you're not being honest with yourself, as a business owner, as a leader, you're not allowing those around you to be honest as well. That's the best way to create authenticity, is to be that person who is prepared to stand up and say, this is how I'm feeling. The first person we should be asking, are you okay, is ourselves. I very much believe that as business owners, managers, anybody that has care for another individual needs to first be checking in for themselves. So what I want you to do first is think about, how are you going to make Christmas and 2021 work? If I could give you 3 wishes right now, we're a month from Christmas, when we're going to go into silly season. We're all going to run around like headless chicken trying to find Auntie Flo's neighbour's cousin's best friend's sister, daughter, the right gift. We all do that to ourselves. It's got to be right. It's got to be this. It can't just be a bar of soap. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves again for the perfect lunch, the perfect table, the perfect gifts. Everybody's got to be on their best behaviour. I think at the moment, a lot of people are very tired, very jaded from the last year. And I know the 3 things that I would really like the most at the moment is to hug my kids. They're actually both in the UK, so that's not a possibility for me at the moment, and possibly not anytime soon. I would really like the time to just be able to go for a very long walk on the beach, whether it's sunshine or rain. The beach is one of my happy places. It's where I like to go. I just feel so at home when I'm next to the water. And it doesn't work the same with a river or a lake. It does need to be the sea. And it's definitely where I go to relax. And the last thing I really want to do is take a very long nap. I'm tired. I've worked really hard through the last few months to try and keep everybody up, keep everybody together. And I think the majority of business owners that I talk to have tried to do the same. But everybody has their different parameters around change. For some people, they will have coped a lot better right now. For other people, they're right at the end of, you know, if you're going to throw one more thing at me right now, I'm really not going to cope that well with it. And they don't, possibly because they're not self-aware, they don't necessarily even know why they're feeling that way. But it's just another change. And Christmas is always a stressful time. So let's look at how we can make that as simple as possible. And very much everything we talk about when we talk about HR is, how do we put the simple things back in for humans? Because that's what helps them feel grounded. That's what actually makes them feel that they've got something they can attach to and they don't feel quite so lost. So I really want you to think for yourself and check in with yourself. What are the 3 things that you would like to do right now? And what are the things that you can do to achieve that, that will help you prepare for a more stress-free Christmas? So if you don't know the answer, then now's the time to ask yourself these questions. And to do that, I always go out somewhere where the sun is shining if I can. If I can't, I find somewhere as close to the sun as possible. And the trick I do is I sit very quietly. I wouldn't call it meditating, but I do close my eyes and I hold my face up to the sun, and I try and feel the warmth going through my body. I try and feel awareness of the warmth going through my body, and that really grounds me. And that trick might work for you, or you might have something else that allows you to do that. But if you jump straight into trying to prepare something, that's not necessarily going to work. You need to stop before you do this. And then just check in with yourself. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Am I okay? Not everybody else, but just take the time to find out if you're okay right now. And if you find your heart is racing, try and do some breathing and bring it down before you think about starting to prepare for the next steps. We have all been on this incredible roller coaster. And a lot of the time, every single day there's been a change and we've not known what's happening. And as leaders, we can only make decisions based on the information we have in front of us at the time. And then as we go through, sometimes we have to change it or tweak that decision. But again, that's because we'll have had fresh information. So we decide to make a change. That's all we can do with this with what we've got going on is make the decision that's right at the time. And then if something else happens, okay, let's adjust the sails, let's have a different look, let's have a different conversation. And then start to prepare once you feel in the right mindset. And why do I use the word prepare, not plan? Because I bet if I said to you all, it's time to start planning for 2021, I'd see at least 80% of shoulders go, oh, really? You, after everything I've been through, you want me to start a plan for next year? Come on, it's a month from Christmas, give me a break. So let's make that as simple as possible. So I always talk about starting to prepare. A lot of people think planning just means sitting in front of an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm the first person to put my hand up and say, I don't like Excel spreadsheets, and I definitely don't like sitting in front of them, and I don't like having them explained to me. And anybody that knows me well will know that I do very well to stay awake once they start on the spreadsheets, because it really does. I'm not a spreadsheet person. But I do prepare for things. If I'm going in to deliver some training, or if I'm going in to do some mentoring, there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. And if I use the word prepare for something, people don't get so about it. So when you're thinking about talking to people at the moment with so much change, think about the words that you're using that will actually lift them up to where you need them to be right now. Once you've made that decision, you need to check in with your staff. Part of your preparation is finding out what's going on with them right now. And I was in a webinar last week with Reward Gateway, who focus very much on employee engagement. And the latest figures are currently showing that 51% of employees are looking to leave. Read that again. That's not 51% of people. That's 51% of people who already have employment are currently looking to leave employment. So if you've got more than 2 people, it's very possible that one of them is yours. So we need to find out what's going on for them. And what the data is showing is that they're feeling they've had a lack of recognition through the last year. They've had a lack of support from their employers, and they've had a lack of connection. And you might be sitting there right now as a business owner thinking, really? After everything I've done to keep everybody together, that's how they're feeling. So what's going on? What did you miss? What was the bit that didn't quite happen? And was it that you weren't asking them the right questions as to what they needed from you right now? And it's also very easy, particularly in the last 6 months, to get very involved on the doing side of the business, because productivity with everything that's happened isn't necessarily aligned with everything that's going on within the business. So you've ended up working in it instead of on it. And when you do that, you get very involved in the jobs and the production, but you forget to connect well with your people. And that's the bit that's been missing for staff. They haven't felt that connectivity. And it's not just about being on Zoom, it is about being able to have those authentic conversations about what's going on for people. And that's what's been missing. I've actually found Zoom to be quite an authentic space where people have felt easier about having those conversations. But that doesn't work for everybody. Some people are very much still, I want that face-to-face before I'm going to be able to say what's really going on for me right now. But with everyone, if you are showing up authentically, then you are far more likely to get an authentic interaction between you and your employees. So asking those questions is where we need to start, and looking at what we want to do with what we have, what we've learned, and what we're about to take into next year. So your planning, or preparation, as I prefer to call it, is simply asking yourself these questions. What is my business? What is the core of my business? And what am I going to take with me into 2021? Where am I going to be doing that? Am I going to be in the office? Am I going to be everybody working remotely? Is there going to be a hybrid of those things happening? And I was in a really interesting webinar with Shane Elliott, who's the CEO of ANZ, on Monday, and he said that what they've done is they've been looking at their employee roles as to how they can be more adaptable. And I thought this was a really interesting framework around where and when. So where do you need your staff to be? and when do you need them to be? And within that role, find some flexibility. So for example, in his situation, if he has a bank teller, he needs that person to be on that desk front and center from when the bank opens in the morning until 5 in the evening when it closes. So you can't have a great deal of flexibility there. But if you've got somebody who's working in the office, then maybe they don't need to be in head office every day. Maybe they could have some days at home, or a joint of the two, just come in for team meetings or group events or things like that, and give them a degree of flexibility. What that then allows you to do is look at the how. Okay, so how do I use the value in the people that I have and match that to who wants to be where, when, what are the skill sets, and how they're going to best build that moving forward to keep that value in my business. And then when do I want to make these changes? What's the strategy going to be around what are we going to do between now and Christmas? What are we going to do between Christmas and February? And then once we've slowly but surely getting people back into the office, how are we actually going to get them slowly but surely back into the office? And what does that office need to look like? And again, with change, I've heard massive extremes of some companies are going to end completely new office spaces, very plush, inviting people in. Other people are saying, no, we want to stay where we are, but we're going to rearrange everything. So it's about having these conversations, checking in with yourself first. What do you want that to look like? And then who are the right people for the right roles moving forward? And the biggest one is why, reconnecting back to your purpose. And is that purpose, that value that you have in your business, still the right one for your business now? A lot of businesses have changed. A lot of things within the business have changed. Our values are knowledge, empathy, and clarity. So through sharing knowledge in an empathic way, we provide clarity around business and finance. And they are still absolutely at the middle of everything that we do. But it's very possible that that has changed. So the reason you ask yourself these questions first is to get a benchmark so that you have an opportunity to understand where you want the business to be going. And that is working on your business. When you take it into your business, you need to ask the same questions of other people. So firstly, you ask yourself. Secondly, you go to those around you that are your key stakeholders. So it might be your business partner or your senior leadership team, or you may have an advisory board. Take the questions and ask them the questions. Because your role as the leader is to take the information that's around you from those that are smart in all those different assets and those different advisory capacities, and build a picture of what's the best way forward. You don't have to take everybody's advice, and you can't possibly keep everybody else happy, but if you don't ask yourself those questions first, you don't have a benchmark. And then you take the best of the advice that's given to you, and then you go out and talk to your staff, and you have an open conversation around what it is that you want to do with the business, and get their feedback on how that's going to affect them, on how they feel about that. And again, you take the best of that information and you make a decision. That's how you gather your information, and that's how you make a decision. And all you've really done is ask some questions. From there, you're actually able to put something together, because by having those conversations, you can work out the mismatch or gap in expectations between what you want to do and what the business needs to happen, and what you have within your people that will allow you to do that. And it might mean that there needs to be a little bit of redeployment or some slight changes, but you've got that flexibility now because you've asked those questions and you've been able to match the working on the business with the working in the business. So you can see the bigger picture, and you can see how you're going to interpret that into actually getting it done. And you come up with your plan or preparation document, call it what you like, whatever gets the best, most positive response. Agree your SMART goals. What are you going to do and how are you going to achieve it? I'm sure I don't need to remind you SMART goals, but it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time framed. So have that outlined. And then finally, communicate everything to everybody involved, key stakeholders, staff, in the most appropriate way. And then obviously get everyone to move to action. And then your next job is to go and do it all again for the next phase while everybody's getting that bit of the job done. So I hope you found that useful. I say keep things simple. Don't overstress. Don't get complicated plans going, or unless you particularly love them, and that's the biggest thing you want to do with your business. If you love it and you want to spend time on an Excel spreadsheet, go for it. I know there are people out there that love that. I find them a bit strange, but you know, that's just me. I'm not a spreadsheet person. I love people that get passionate about them, but yes, I'd rather go for a cup of coffee, really. I'm a people person. So communicate and move to action, and communicate the action so that everybody, and make that a two-way conversation. Make sure what you are expecting is what you communicate to the person that's in charge of getting that job done, because that really is the best way to get back what you're expecting. Thank you. I'm going to pass over to the lovely Sarah Hudson, who's going to talk to you about all things finance and how to get some money back in your pocket and make Christmas as stress-free as possible.
Thank you, Sian. That was really great. Gives me some food for thought. So thank you for having me, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here sharing a little bit of insight into moving forward through Christmas and into 21 from a financial perspective. And I wanted to just start off with a look at how COVID-19 has affected us this year. Some of you know, and some of you obviously won't know what I do for a job now, as well as the introduction that Kate gave me. I am a mortgage broker, a Liberty advisor, which I love, and I've been doing for just over 5 years now. So I've been very fortunate that COVID-19 probably hasn't affected me financially, but I get to work with lots of people who have experienced some of these things. So as Victoria achieves its first days of 0 cases with 0 deaths and 0 active cases of COVID-19, there are some great reasons to celebrate. Did you know that it's now 300 days since Victoria was last in this position? That's getting awfully close to a year. However, the financial strain and the realities will soon kick in as we return to life that is somewhat close to pre-COVID. The reality is that the unemployment rate in October 2020 increased to 7%. And people who are paid through the JobKeeper scheme are actually classified as employed, regardless of the hours that they work, and even if they've been stood down and will become stood down after JobKeeper finishes. It's actually anticipated that the unemployment rate will increase to around 12% once JobKeeper is no longer being paid, which is quite frightening to think that, you know, the businesses that are currently paying people JobKeeper will not feel that they're in a position to be able to continue once they don't receive that support from the government. So the number of people on JobKeeper was estimated to be 3.5 million at its peak, dropping to around 1.5 million in December and down again to 1 million by March 2021, as some businesses are returning to COVID normal trading. That encompasses employees of businesses that no longer require JobKeeper and the businesses that buckle under the economic strain and fold as government support eases. The government is expecting 345,000 new people will access JobKeeper in the last 3 months of the year. Well, we're halfway through that already. And the total estimated cost of the JobKeeper program is $86 billion Australia-wide. And just by extending JobSeeker for another 3 months is projected to be costing us as taxpayers $3.8 billion. Wow, can you believe that? You know, that's pretty heavy figures. And what do we do with that? What has COVID meant to us as individuals? Well, people obviously have been working from home as best as they can, where they can, and that's causing strain on relationships, strain on finances, people working in rooms where they can. For me, for example, I have 4 children that have been living at home, 14-year-old twins that have been sharing my office, and that's been creating lots of interesting conversations with them interrupting me every 5 minutes initially to share what they're doing in school. us all competing for space to have Zoom calls, and they're being in Google Classrooms, and just that complete, for me, that complete loss of sense of place, and having my own space in my house and having the house to myself. Obviously, over the period of the year, it's meant that I've had to relax a lot about worrying about where things have been dropped around the house, and the amount of plates and cups that are left in the kitchen every time I walk in there. But it has really changed the way we view things and the way we view relationships as well. The way we work from home has become really unergonomic. If you think, when you go to your job, you're sitting in a desk that is built ergonomically because that's what your employers provided to you, in a chair that is ergonomic. And then you come home and you're either sitting at your dining room table, or I know people who have been doing their work in their bedroom in the corner because it's the only quiet space that they can find to work. No privacy, no understanding of the demands that you have as a job from your children. Parents who have very young children must find that very challenging as well, with babies and young children. So others who would normally be breadwinners in the family are also becoming the parent, helping with this remote schooling. They're running the household and trying to make ends meet. I have a friend who's a chef who obviously got laid off, and he became the primary caregiver at home, doing homeschooling for his 6-year-old. And that was just such a big challenge for him, being, the big burly bloke that went out to work every day. So you have all of these changing roles and challenges associated with that. And along with that, we have businesses pivoting to stay afloat. Some really, really positive stories that have come out of COVID-19, with a local cafe down here where I live in Dramana has been offering grazing boxes throughout COVID. And it was so successful that they've actually closed their cafe side of the business down, and they're just going to do catering from here on in. The demand was huge. You'd see pictures up on Facebook all of the time saying, Janie B's grazing box has just arrived. And I myself used them to send out when I did Zoom lunches with my senior staff. I'd get them a grazing box sent out so we could all sit and enjoy it together. So there's some really positive things that have happened. And I've even seen a local travel agent who's obviously closed to travel, but they're putting together hamper boxes and selling them as Christmas gifts. A local distillery has been making hand sanitizer, the Gin Distillery in Dramana, and dressmakers making masks. And I heard on the radio as well a Great Ocean Road tour operator who had set up a program with an Indigenous community to make and sell masks, so much so that he was thinking that he may not go back to tour operating and just keep running along with this cooperative sort of work that he was doing with the local Aboriginal communities. So moving on to talk about government incentives that have come out this year in order to keep people from losing hope and have some income. Obviously, we've talked about JobKeeper and JobSeeker, but there's been a new one that's come out called JobMaker, which is to help employees employ more people, with particularly young people, incentives for apprentices, all funded by the federal government to keep the unemployment figures down, and provide incentives for businesses to keep employing their staff and employ new staff. There's been other incentives to help, such as home builder grants, giving borrowers a $25,000 bonus to build and ignite the construction industry. Business loans with deferred repayments for 6 months and lower than usual interest rates. Negotiating with banks to provide repayment holidays on mortgages for 6 months, which have now come to an end, of course. In light of the economy, the RBA lowered the cash rate to 0.1%, the lowest ever known in Australia. First home buyers' incentives with the First Home Loan Deposit Scheme have been extended to those building new homes. And that's created great interest among borrowers, to the point now where most lenders are backlogged with applications, and processing of loan applications are taking upwards of 3 to 4 weeks, going up from only 1 to 2 weeks just 3 months ago. With lower rates than ever before, borrowers are taking advantage of the opportunities to not only get into the market for the first time, but also to refinance to lower rates. There's never been a better time. And, it's great for the industry, and it's great for people getting into the property market for the first time too. For those people who have lost their jobs or who have been put on JobKeeper and a lower income than they've been used to before, the pressure of finances is just immense. At this time, it's just so important to know your figures, know how much you earn and where you earn it, and how much each and every one of your expenses is. To know your fixed and variable cost is imperative. When I talk to people about their liabilities, that's one of the things that many people don't know. They don't know what the difference is between a fixed and variable expense either. And we sit there and talk about, you know, the fixed expenses are the things that you have to pay every single week, every single month, come rain or shine, whether you're home or not, pretty well much. And variable expenses are the things that you can pick and choose, that you could reduce if you needed to. And if you needed to save some money. So you need to work out where you can cut back on and where you can pick up a few dollars here and there, especially when the pressure on your finances is so great. And to understand why a budget is important makes the stress of managing your money so much easier. Budget seems to be such a dirty word. No one likes to sit down, like Sian says, with Excel spreadsheets. No one likes to do that. I don't know whether it's because there's a fear of knowing how badly they manage money, or a fear of knowing that they don't have enough money. But honestly, I just believe so strongly in having a budget, because it just gives you the power, and it gives you the ability to control your money rather than money controlling you. So on to setting up a budget. What is a budget and why budget? Obviously, I've just mentioned that. The Money Smart website is amazing. It has got so many free tools to track your money, to track your spending, and do a budget plan. In my money workshops that I do, I actually bring up the Money Smart budget website, and we sit and we do it one-on-one and take people through how important it is to look at all those different expenses. And it's amazing at the end of it that people go, oh, I actually am better off than I thought I was, or I actually think that I can trim off a little bit here and do this and do that. So it's really, as I said, it's really empowering. It's so important. And there's some fantastic spending apps available on your phone or on your iPad where you can actually track all of the money that you spend, so that you can see where you can actually cut things down. Yeah, I really love looking at those sorts of things and sort of isolating it. You know, you could write it in a little notebook, you could write it, or you can just put it on an app and find out what you're doing. And what's really useful as well is breaking down your income into different categories so that you know where your money is being spent. Obviously, you're not going to put it in little jars like this, but this is an example of how you can break down your money. And what I've done is actually open bank accounts in all those different categories. And when I first started doing this, it's one of the things that the Barefoot Investor recommends doing. And when I first started doing that, I actually thought that I was a really good money manager until I actually opened up all these bank accounts. And now if I'm having a crap day and I think, oh, you know, I have to work so hard to earn money and I really just want to lay on the beach and do something, I open up my phone and I open up my bank account and I go, look at that. There's money to pay the bills and there's money for the kids' education. And it's a really great feeling to be able to be, again, as I said, to be in control of your money. Allocating it to different jars or different bank accounts, it's just the best thing I ever did. I've always got the money there. And this year, being a year of no travel, my holiday bank account is looking fantastic for 2021. So look out everywhere in Australia. I won't be going overseas, but I'll certainly be going away somewhere. Moving on to debt reduction. Obviously, this is a really big key issue in our community. You know, debts are everywhere. The things that we are spending money on, and we've become so used to wanting to have things immediately, that particularly the younger community are using a lot of things like Afterpay and Nimble and Sunshine Loans and Zip Pay and that sort of thing, and they don't realise how it affects their credit rating, not so much their credit file, but a bank will look at those transactions on their bank statements and get a real sense that they aren't very good at managing money, and it can affect their ability to borrow money to buy a home. So when you're looking at debt reduction, I believe it's most important to pay your most expensive debt down first. And if you've got a large number of debts and you're paying really high interest, to look at consolidating them to one payment to a lower interest rate, and then just smashing that one loan out. I also find that the most important thing to do is to write down all the money that you owe and to where you owe it, add it all out and work out what money you have left over after all your living expenses, and then work your way through it that way. You know, it's essential in this whole process of money management to find a way to financial freedom, as stress-free living and managing your debt as best as possible. Finally, I really encourage you to spend some time thinking about what's important to you. It's really easy to get caught up in the, you know, having what the Joneses have, and, you know, they've got a boat. Well, how come they've got a boat? Why can't I have a boat? So if you look at people who have lots of things in the community, often they are actually loaned up to the max, and they're getting carried away with, you know, having to have the latest of everything. I, you know, think about back to where my parents first set up home. They had old crates in England turned upside down that they put a tablecloth on, and they didn't have credit cards in those days, so they didn't have the easy access to credit that we have, and so they made do with the things that they have. Whereas, you know, young people who move into their first home want brand new furniture, they want the 60-centimetre TVs, they just want everything, and it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost where we're living way beyond our means. So I really encourage you to spend some time thinking about what is important to you. Create a vision board and work out whether it's retirement, family, having a house, a car, building wealth, being debt-free, or just having a regular date night, or buying a new dress. If that's what's really important to you, then set those goals, create a vision board, and work towards them. You know, being able to know you have freedom to do what you want to do is equally as important as having the money to do it. So setting up a vision board can clearly define what it is what you want from your life, and provide you with the clear goals and objectives to plan out your financial future. Remember, it isn't about the money. It's about living the life you want. We weren't put on this earth really to earn money. We were put on this earth to live. So design the life you want. So thank you for having me. This is who I am. I run a new business called Bounce Back and Realise Your Potential. And I deliver online workshops, and I would love to talk to you if you're interested at all. But meanwhile, I will hand over to the gorgeous Kate Richards, who is going to talk to us about families and relationships. Stop sharing. Sorry, there you go.
Thank you, Sarah. That was a lot of food for thought, I've got to say. My name's Kate Richards, and I'm of Sher Richards Legal. And I'm looking at the family law context coming out of lockdown. So a bit of background. In Australia in 2018, there was about 120,000 marriages and 49,000 divorces. The average age of marriage for a male was 32 years, and for a female is 30 years. The average age of divorce is 45 years, and for women is 12 and a half years. 80% of people live together before marriage, and 47% of divorces involve children. So the impact of COVID, as everybody knows, there was this sort of enforced lockdown period, and the evidence that we have to date is really obviously mainly anecdotal. The evidence suggests that clearly people living together has exposed cracks in relationships and exacerbated existing conflicts. The ongoing emotional and financial stress when paired with a risky, uncertain future has led to a lot of relationships not surviving as much. Some people had actually planned to separate during this year and were forced to stay together due to the circumstances. Job losses are going to impact on the payment of child support, and there will be a shifting of income disparity between child support liability, which will flip between parents. So what does that all mean? Well, when I have clients that come to me, they sort of ask me about, the main question that they first ask me is, what are my legal rights? And the first thing that I explain to people is that whether you're married or living in a de facto relationship, either way, your rights are determined under the Family Law Act. One consideration that I always talk to people about when they arrive is, do you have a binding financial agreement? And if not, do you want to have one? A binding financial agreement allows parties to determine how their property and financial resources are dealt with in the event they should break up. Agreements can be put in place before marriage, during marriage, or even after divorce or separation of a relationship. So why would you consider a binding financial agreement? Well, people are repartnering later in life and have accumulated significant assets prior to remarrying or repartnering. So sometimes people would like to quarantine those assets that they've acquired prior to the relationship or inherited during a relationship, and protect their wealth to pass on to their children. So a binding financial agreement, which is a contract, provides greater certainty and can be seen to reduce risk, acrimony, and avoid further litigation. So yeah, the implications of a binding financial agreement is that it actually ousts the jurisdiction of a court. An alternative to not having an agreement is that you do nothing, or if it's in the context of a relationship breakdown and a settlement's been struck, then it could be an alternative to court orders or an application to the court. Binding financial agreements continue despite a death of a party. So if clients don't have a binding financial agreement and the relationship breaks down, what do we do next? Well, I help my clients try to seek a negotiation outside of the court, and we negotiate with the other party through solicitors or indeed directly to the other party. And I try and encourage my clients to go to mediation and reach an agreement that means that the matter isn't settled in the court. But when all this fails, sometimes parties end up in the courtroom, and in which case I will prepare my clients for court and walk them through the whole process, engage counsel, and basically guide them through what is pretty stressful and expensive procedure. So once you're in the court system, or even out of the court system, when it comes to looking at what is a fair property settlement, the court actually adopts what's known as the clean break principle. And this is how, when I'm trying to come up with an agreement between my client and another party, we always have this principle in mind, which is the court likes parties to separate, and to separate finally, and not to have some ongoing obligation to each other. So it's sort of known as the clean break principle. The first thing that we do when we're trying to help our clients, and indeed if you go to court, prepare for a property settlement, is we need to know what the current assets and liabilities are of the parties. The actual value of these assets and liabilities is looked at the date of settlement, and not necessarily when the parties have broken up. So we look at things like, have they got a house, investment properties, cars, cash in bank, and then we also look at what are the liabilities of the parties, and also their superannuation. Nothing is hidden, it's all out in the open, theoretically, and we look at the net assets and liabilities of the parties. And then what is considered is what contributions did each individual make during the relationship. So the court and the solicitors, when they're helping their clients prepare settlements, take these factors into account. So they look at, well, what financial contributions did each person make during the relationship? Who worked, who contributed their income, who inherited, who took got paid out at work and took a redundancy, and who contributed what to the parties' relationship. They also look at non-financial contributions. Did your husband work on the home and make improvements to the home? Were there grandparents who were taking care of the kids? These are all considered non-financial contributions. They also look at the homemaker role, who looked after the children, and by taking into consideration each of these types of contributions, you sort of start weighing up the actual property settlements. You start with a net asset pool, and then you sort of make adjustments in favour of either party, depending on who made what contribution. And then finally, a consideration is future needs. So when a couple breaks up, what's impact will that have on their earning capacity? How old are they? Have they got health considerations? Who's going to take care of the children? And are there other responsibilities that they have to take into account? So that's also factored into what's considered a fair property settlement. And then you take a step back and you look at what is a fair and equitable property settlement, because people come in and say, right, I want everything. And you say, well, actually, it doesn't work like that. And then you look at all these factors. And then at the end, you might come up with a, 52% in favour of the wife, 48% of the husband, or vice versa. And then you step back and say, well, what is actually just and equitable? And then, of course, parenting is key in lots of things. I mean, I do property settlements, but the other aspect, I've got a huge case going on at the moment, which is all about the kids. And there's a couple of overriding principles that are taken into account, which is really important when it comes to parenting and who's going to look after the children, and where do they live, and how much time do they spend. And the three key aspects is what is in the best interest of the child, ensuring that the child has a meaningful relationship with each parent, and protecting children from physical or psychological harm. So they're overwhelming kind of principles that the court will take into account when looking at a parenting plan or parenting arrangements. And just on that, so we work with our clients on developing parenting plans in conjunction with their partner or ex-partner, and also look at what's a fair child support agreement, who should be paying for what, and how do we work it out. So that is just family law in a brief snapshot. It's been quite an interesting period during COVID. The phone is indeed running hot. Unfortunately, a lot of people have found this a very stressful time. I'm more than happy to speak to people about how to help them navigate through the fairly complex family law system. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Kate. That was wonderful. And thank you, Sarah. And thank you so much, Sean. I'm going to hand over to the attendee. So as I said in the beginning, if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. Otherwise, there is a Q&A section on the bottom panel of the screen there. Now, ladies, I do send up a follow-up email to everybody who tunes in. So I'll make sure to include all of your details there. But did you have any parting words that you wanted to include?
I think for me, I just, one of the reasons we were all so keen to deliver this is because this last month, between now and Christmas can be so very stressful. And it's these sort of issues that can stress us out. But we just really wanted to help people understand that the thing that might be stopping us is because we think what we're about to step into is a really complicated process.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. You don't have to stop yourself by stressing yourself out because you think, I can't go through this process. The process itself is going to be too hard. And we really just wanted to put some clarification out there about the fact that you can keep the process simple. It doesn't need to be hard. If you feel there's things that you need to do for yourself, then it doesn't need to be a stressful process in itself. The very reason we're here is to help people understand that. Keep it simple. We can help you navigate, as exactly as Kate said, we can help you navigate that process. It doesn't need to be complicated. That's why we were so keen to get the message across. It's been an incredibly stressful year. We're about to go into another incredibly stressful time frame. I think, for a lot of people, they're going to want a big traditional Christmas with the turkey and, all the trimmings. But actually, as I say, I'd rather have a nap. So, I've got to be honest with people. I had a beautiful friend come today and invite me, I was saying to Kate earlier, invite me to her family Christmas 25 people, oh, that sounds lovely for some, but I just don't think I can do that this year. I really just want to be able to stay in my PJs, watch some stupid Disney films, probably eat a load of rubbish and have an early night. And the thought of having to make conversation with 25 people when I probably only know 2 of them is actually right at the bottom of my list. So, you know, I very politely declined, but we've got to be able to be honest about what's going on for us right now. Any other year, I probably would have gone, yeah, that's really exciting. I love it. Can't wait to meet loads of new people. But this year, no, thank you.
I think my message would, oh, sorry, Sarah, you go.
Yeah, so I was just saying that I think as well, the thing is that, as Sian said, it's been such a difficult year, and we can feel so alone. And one of the things that we wanted to make people understand is that there's always people out there that will listen and will help, and that you might think that you're in a unique situation, but you're not, and there are ways of dealing with things. And we just wanted to highlight that as, you know, as individuals and as a group and as women, we want to support people. And one of the things that I have found through COVID is that it's stripped us of a lot of our connections with people because we've been isolated, but it's also made us look inwards and find out what's really important to us.
Yeah.
And for me, that whole vision boarding thing and determining what's important to me is family, friends, and life, you know, enjoying life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hard to follow that, Sarah. I was going to say something as simple as if you have a friend that needs family law advice, call me.
Hey, that's good too. That's good too. I mean, as we kind of saw, it's going to be definitely needed, especially I think coming into 2021. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming on. I think you've simplified a really confusing, difficult subject that we've not had to deal with ever before. You know, this is the first time, and the first time that all these kind of subject matters are clashing as well. So it was so great to be able to get each one of your perspectives. Excuse me. Now, as I said, I will be sending through your details in a follow-up email. This session will be available via our B Library in about a week or so. So please look out for that, because there's so many golden nuggets in there that I think will be really, really useful. With that being said, though, thank you once again, Sian, Sarah, and Kate. Everybody have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to seeing you all online again soon. All right, thank you so much,
Kate.
everybody.